Welcome to the final week of our Multiply series, where Simon and I have done our very best to make our vision clear and to help every one of us know the part that we can play. But more than that, our prayer has been that not only would we know the part that we can play, but we would be excited to play our part in the direction that we believe God is taking us as a church. The Bible is full of stories of people playing their part in what God is doing. Noah obeyed God by building the ark, and God saved him and his family from the flood. Abraham obeyed God and left his homeland and also was prepared to sacrifice his son Isaac. His obedience led to God's covenant blessing. Moses followed God's command to confront Pharaoh, leading to the Israelites being freed from slavery and escaping through the miraculous parting of the Red Sea. Joshua obeyed God's unusual strategy of marching around the walls of Jericho, leading to the walls miraculously falling down. Gideon obeyed God by reducing his army down to 300 men, and God gave him victory over the huge army of the Midianites. Hannah dedicated her son Samuel to God as she had promised, and Samuel became a great prophet. And David obeyed God's call to fight Goliath, leading to victory and his rise as king. Elijah obeyed God and called fire down from heaven in the showdown against Baal's prophets. Hezekiah prayed to God when facing Assyrian invasion, and God miraculously defeated the enemy. Mary, as a young teenage girl, obeyed God's message from the angel and gave birth to Jesus, the Son of God and the Saviour of the world. Joseph, her husband, followed God's guidance in dreams, protecting Jesus from harm. Simon Peter obeyed Jesus by casting his net again and witnessed a miraculous catch of fish. And he even walked on water in response to an invitation from Jesus. The apostles obeyed Jesus' command to wait in Jerusalem, leading to the outpouring of the Holy Spirit at Pentecost in such a remarkable way. Ananias obeyed God by going to Saul, someone who had been killing Christians, leading to his conversion and baptism. Paul obeyed God's call to preach the gospel despite persecution, leading to the spread of Christianity that you and I are part of today. When people say yes to God, amazing things happen. When we say yes to God, that is where God is able to move in ways that we can only imagine. You see, God moves in your yes. When you step out in faith, God steps in with power. There's a similar hall of fame to what I have just described found in Hebrews 11, and it's followed immediately by these verses in Hebrews 12, 1-2. It says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. And let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith." There is an incredible cloud of witnesses that has gone before us, not just the ones in the Bible that I have just listed, but also right throughout history. People who were obedient to God, and in their yes to Him, God moved in power. They are crying out to us, put your trust in God. He desires to accomplish great things through ordinary people who say yes to Him. And so in response to this great cloud of witnesses, we're to run with perseverance the race marked out for us. We're to throw off everything that hinders us, and we're to fix our eyes on Jesus. I wonder if any of you has ever run in a race where the crowds are cheering you on, where you've trained and done everything you can to get to the finish line well. This is the picture that we're given in Hebrews to encourage us to keep going. But living your life with Jesus is a journey of faith. It's not about what we see with our eyes, but it's about living in obedience to what God says. It's about trusting that the Lord is marking out the path ahead of us. We just need to run. And because it's a journey of faith, it won't always make sense and it won't always be easy. Think of Moses with the sea in front of him and Pharaoh's army behind him. Think of Joshua marching around the walls of Jericho and blowing trumpets. It must have seemed so stupid. Think of Gideon going to battle with only 300 men. Surely that was terrifying. But God knew what he was doing. He knew exactly the way. He just needed them to trust him and say yes. We finished our message in week 1 with an invitation to come on this journey with us. We've shared the God story, the reasons why we are convinced this is the way the Lord is leading us. Will we now be people that say yes to him and watch him move in power as we respond to him with faith and obedience? Today's message is going to explore what that yes to him can look like for each one of us in the context of all that we have shared. Some of what I share today will be a recap of what we've already talked about, and some of what I share today will be new information. But can I encourage you at this point, if you have missed any of the multiply messages in this series, can you go back and watch them? If you haven't watched the ones leading up to this point, there will be gaps in what I'm saying today. So please go back and catch up if you have missed any. But the focus of the message today is on what does yes to God look like for you right now? Remember, the place we believe the Lord is leading us to is here, to become a disciple-making movement, transforming Wellington and the world with the good news of Jesus Christ. And we're getting there by multiplying disciples, multiplying leaders, multiplying churches, all on a foundation of bold, faith-filled, unrelenting prayer. And prayer because we know we can't do this on our own or in our own strength. This vision is a God-sized vision, and we need him to work in and through us to make it happen. We need him to move. We cannot do this without him. But each of us also has a role. We believe God will move, but we know that he will move most powerfully in the place of our yes. Now, I've run a few races in my time, and it takes a lot to get you to that finish line. It begins weeks and months ahead with diligent training, eating the right food, looking after your body. The night before, getting your running things together, laying out your race number, getting everything in order. Everything contributes to you getting to that finish line. And it's similar for us as we endeavor to move towards the vision that God has given us. There are some things that we can do that are going to help us get there. Some things that are going to help us to run with perseverance, to throw off everything that hinders and to fix our eyes on Jesus. And the first thing I think we can do that's going to help us get there is to be committed to grow as a multiplying disciple. That involves many things, but some of them would be being committed to your location or a church community. That looks like showing up regularly, getting involved, contributing. It looks like being a committed part of a life group, a small group community. Again, showing up regularly, getting involved and contributing. But it also involves investing in someone else or having someone else invest in you. We talked about foundations in week 2 of this series. We believe this is going to be an incredible tool in our hands as we seek to be intentional about walking alongside others and helping them take steps towards Jesus. Our multiply dream is that each of us would be regularly meeting with 1, 2, or 3 people to help them follow Jesus by walking with them through foundations, or maybe that would look like someone doing that with you. Another thing that is going to help us to keep running in the right direction is being committed to serve in my church. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 11 to 16 says this. So Christ himself gave the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the pastors and teachers to equip his people for works of service so that the body of Christ may be built up until we all reach unity in the faith and in the knowledge of the Son of God and become mature, attaining to the whole measure of the fullness of Christ. Then we will no longer be infants, tossed back and forth by the waves and blown here and there by every wind of teaching and by the cunning and craftiness of people in their deceitful scheming. Instead, speaking the truth in love, we will grow to become in every respect the mature body of Him who is the head, that is Christ. From Him, the whole body, joined and held together by every supporting ligament, grows and builds itself up in love as each part does its work. As each part does its work. That means every one of us using our gifts and our skills to contribute to the church. It means every one of us having I see in you conversations with the people around us, like Simon talked about last week, calling out in them the gifting that we see, encouraging them to take a step into something that they haven't done before. It means having a culture of apprenticing, that success as a leader wouldn't be about how many people you lead, but it would be about how many leaders you raise up to take your place. Just like Simon talked about last week in Acts 11, Barnabas went out to look for Saul. Even though Saul had no experience in leading churches, Barnabas saw something in him, and he brought Saul alongside him and trained him up. We need to be asking ourselves the question, who can I invite to come and help me? And how can I help teach them and help them learn so that they can join me in what I'm doing? And if you're not doing anything in our church right now is a really great time to get involved. Can I encourage you to think about what that step might look like for you? Our multiplied dream is that everyone in our church would be contributing their gifts and skills, would be regularly having I see in you conversations with people around them, would be apprenticing someone else to learn what you do. We want an oversupply of leaders so that a lack of leaders will never be the thing that holds us back. Another thing that will help us to keep running in the right direction is to be committed to invest financially in the vision. As we have learnt more about church planting, we've learnt that generally there are two barriers to planting. One is leaders and one is money. We have talked already about how God seems to have really blessed us as a church with great numbers of people who either already are incredible leaders or who have the potential to be. We're committed to doing what we can to invest in them, to come alongside them, to encourage them, and to give them meaningful opportunities to lead. And like we've just talked about, that I see in you conversations and apprenticing would be a normal part of how we do things here. So what about money then? Well, to be honest, right now, money is a barrier to us planting. But we have been surprised and encouraged about how close we are. In order for us to plant a new location in the way that Simon outlined last week in that two-stage approach, we need to raise our regular giving by 7.5%. And over the last few weeks, we have already seen God beginning to provide in incredible ways. But 7.5% in reality means this: every adult in our church increasing their giving by $4 a week. That's less than it would cost you to buy a bad cup of coffee in Wellington. And who wants a bad cup of coffee anyway? So this means if you currently give regularly, it means you increasing what you currently give by $4 a week. Or if you're not giving yet, it means starting to give at least $4 a week. And I want to encourage you today, you do not need to be rich to contribute to this vision that God has given us. If you're a student and have very little money, or if you're just anybody in this financial climate who is struggling to make ends meet, we're not asking you to give more than you can afford. But what we are asking for you to do is to prayerfully, before the Lord, ask Him, what are you asking me to sacrifice in order to give financially to this vision that God has given us? There's a story that Jesus tells about a poor widow who comes to the temple. And in the offering at the temple, she just gives 2 small coins that it says are worth only a few pennies. Jesus says of her that she has put in more than everyone else because it's our hearts that He is looking at. And if you believe in this vision that we are going after and you can only give a little, can I encourage you to give it? That act of faith is powerful. And like we've been talking about today, God is able to move in our yes. So as you give, God will move through it, however much that is. But many of you are not in that boat today. Many of you have plenty. And so we're asking you to do the same thing. We're asking you to prayerfully consider before the Lord, what is He asking you to sacrifice in order to financially contribute to this vision that God has given us? This is what Simon and I are doing right now as individuals. We're praying about what is the amount that God would lay on our hearts that we're going to increase our giving by. And then we're going to talk together and come to agreement about what we are going to financially invest in this vision that God has given us. See, we don't want to stop at one new location. Simon laid out the numbers for us last week. This country needs more churches in order to reach the millions of people who don't yet know Jesus. We're not the only answer, but we are part of the answer. And we know other churches around this nation who are answering this call to church plant. And we want to play our part in that. There's going to be some written information that we'll send out with our senior pastor monthly email that's coming out on Monday. It will describe more fully how you can partner with us in this vision financially. But right now, if you are not currently giving and you want to start giving, it's so easy to do that. You can go on our website under Get Involved, or you can open up the Church Centre app and there's a button there that just says Give. But our multiply dream is that every person in our church is giving financially in order to invest in the vision that God has given our church. We're going to report back on where our giving is at and whether we can start preparing for our next plant at Together on May the 18th. So can I encourage you to be there? Finally, one more thing that will help us as we continue to run is if every person is committed to a life of prayer. When we pray, we invite the power and presence of God into our situation. Salvation is a miraculous work of God, and for some reason, God has chosen to work in response to our prayers. Philippians 4 verse 6 says this: "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God." We want to be a church where our response to everything is to pray. We want to be people whose first thought is to pray in every situation, on our own, but also corporately. We want to see regular prayer meetings happening right across our church, not as the least popular meetings we hold, but meetings where we contend for God to move in our time and in this place. There's a quote that has really encouraged Simon and I recently, and it says this: "Don't despise your small gatherings. Every major revival has its origins with a small band of intercessors faithfully crying out. Small gatherings precede big breakthroughs. When we gather to worship and pray, regardless of size, we convene the very court of heaven on earth. Our prayer gatherings are the most important and powerful gatherings in our city." If you have a small prayer gathering, be encouraged. Your prayers are powerful and they are making a difference. Keep praying. Keep doing what you're doing. But I wonder today if God is speaking to some of you about starting your own prayer gathering. Can I encourage you, just do it. Don't wonder about how. Don't worry about gathering vast numbers. Grab one or two people who want to pray with you and just start. Let your location pastor know that it's happening so they can tell others about it. But if your prayer gathering never grows to hundreds of people, it doesn't matter. The prayers that you pray as a small group of people are powerful and they matter. Let's be people that pray together. Remember as well that we have a dedicated 24/7 prayer room that is able to be booked at any time. Go there on your own or with others. You can find a link to book a slot in the prayer room on our website. When there are prayer initiatives going on in our church, let's be people that lean in and prioritize prayer. You can never waste time in prayer. It is always going to be a good use of your time. We've got a prayer initiative coming up in a couple of months' time, leading into Pentecost again this year, that you'll hear more about in your locations over the coming weeks. But can I encourage you, when it comes, lean in. Let's be people that pray. And as individuals, let's be people who cultivate a life of prayer. Praying about everything at all times, praying that God can move, praying like it matters on our own as well as with others. Our multiplied dream is that every person is praying like we believe God will answer our prayers, that we be praying bold, faith-filled prayers, city-shaking, nation-shaping, world-changing prayers. And we'd love you to continue leaning into prayer, into God through prayer as we conclude this series. And so, like we've encouraged every week of this series, would you continue to take 10 minutes each day to be praying into what God is saying to you? And here's some prayer prompts for you this week. Lord, please show me the steps you are asking me to take to play my part. Lord, please move my heart and lead me to see what I could give financially to contribute to this vision. And Lord, please move in power. We long to see our friends, family, and neighbours come to know you and to see this city, nation, and world transformed with the gospel. You see, God moves in your yes. When you step out in faith, he steps in with power. And so what is the yes you need to say today? I can hear some of you saying to me, but Jenny, my life is so full, my resources are so limited. I'd love to get involved, but I just can't. You're right. Our time and our resources are finite. For many of us, if you're going to say yes to something new, you're going to need to consider what you currently have in your life that you need to say no to. This is where we need to be prayerfully considering with God how to best use the time, talents, and resources that he has given us for his kingdom and for his glory, to help people become total followers of Jesus Christ. There is surely no more worthwhile thing that we could be doing with our time and our resources. So what is your yes today? And it might be multiple things. Just like when you prepare for a run, there are many different things you need to put in place to help you get to the finish line. It's likely that you already have many of the things in place that I've talked about today, but there'll also be some that you haven't yet. And so what are the things that you still need to put in place? This will likely involve a step of faith for you. As you commit to saying yes to him today, ask God to meet you in your yes. Ask him to move powerfully as you say yes to him. Remember the great cloud of witnesses that are cheering you on. They have all made steps of faith in the past. Their lives and their stories encourage us that as we say yes to him, God will move. The biggest and most important yes you can ever say is yes to following Jesus, believing in him, receiving salvation, and committing your life to follow him. Can I encourage you today, if you have never said that yes, make today the day that you say yes to believing in Jesus. You will never regret it. It will be the most important yes you ever say. I wonder today, are you saying yes to growing as a multiplying disciple maker, stepping up your engagement in your church community or in your life group? Maybe it's asking your location pastor about how you could come alongside someone else using Foundations, or maybe it's reaching out and asking if someone would walk with you through Foundations. What is the yes the Lord is prompting you to say around serving? Whether that's getting more involved yourself or encouraging someone else to step up or bringing someone alongside you to apprentice them. What is the yes the Lord is leading you to say around financially contributing to our church and this vision that God has given us? Does that look like starting to give? Or how much will you increase your financial contribution to this church? And what is the yes the Lord is leading you to say around prayer? Is it starting a new prayer gathering? Is it joining in with a prayer gathering that you know is already happening? Is it booking a slot in the prayer room or establishing a daily habit of prayer for yourself and on your own? If we want to become a disciple-making movement, every one of us needs to play our part and get involved. Some of you may have joined in or seen some of Gather 25 that happened a few weeks ago. And in the promo video for that, Jenny Allen said something so inspiring, so profound. I just wanted to finish my message today by sharing her words. She said this: "What if Jesus came back in 10 years? If we knew he was coming and coming soon, what would we do? None of us will ever be able to predict when Jesus will return, but what if it is sooner than we think? Are we ready? How would it change the way we're living today? Would I worry so much about the small things, or would I give myself to the cause of making Jesus known? What would the church be willing to do?" Can I encourage you today? God moves in your yes. When you step out in faith, he steps in with power. Since preparing and recording this message, we have had some sizable donations totaling $150,000. This is an incredible celebration of God's provision that we believe demonstrates how God has already gone ahead of us in this. It means that we now have enough to begin the process of planting one new location this year.
However, please remember, this is not about just one new location, but about becoming a multiplying movement for the sake of Wellington, New Zealand, and beyond. Please still prayerfully consider giving regularly towards planting new locations and churches, but also the ongoing costs of sustaining such a movement. We're still going to give an update on progress towards planting it together on the 18th of May, and so please don't miss that.